similar to spiders is snakes. Anybody else afraid of snakes? No, nobody else is afraid of snakes. Well, Tara, I'm sorry, you're on your own with snakes. But please go crazy for your last storyteller of the first half of the evening, Tara Luca.
If you want to be a serious cyclist, my teammate says to me, you're going to need to shave those legs. I was on a team ride from Portland to Multnomah Falls. It was the first warm day in spring, warm enough that we could take the tights off and just ride with shorts. I looked down at my teammate's legs. Smooth, no hair at all. And then I glanced down at mine. Old growth forest. Hair that had been there since puberty. I was really concerned about the advice I had gotten. I wanted to be seen as a serious cyclist. But I also wanted to be seen as masculine and tough. Characteristics I thought I needed for my job, which was working as a prosecutor in the Washington County District Attorney's Office. I had come to bike racing about the same time I got the job. When I decided to get involved in it, I jumped in head first. I bought a racing bike, I joined the team, and I started entering races. The team was called Ciclista Veloce, which translated from the Italian means speedy cyclist. And I was determined I was going to be a speedy cyclist. When I got home from that ride, I had made up my mind. I was going to do it. I was going to shave my legs. I figured, really, what do I have to lose? As long as I keep my pants on in the courtroom, no one in there is going to know. So I was living in this small apartment cut out of the second floor of what had been a stately Northwest Portland home. My bathroom was the walk-in closet. There were no windows. If you stood in the center of the room facing the sink, you could, without moving, you could touch the toilet or the tub behind you. I filled the tub with water, shaving cream, my trusty Gillette Track 2 razor, and I hopped into the tub. There's a problem. I don't have the slightest idea how to shave my legs. I'd never done it, and I'd never seen anyone do it. Questions popped into my mind, like, how high up am I supposed to go? And how do you shave around your knees? And how do you shave the back of your legs when you can't see them? It took almost forever. It was like clear-cutting the forest with a handsaw. My poor razor got clogged every time I soaked up blood on my leg. I actually finished, and by the time I was finished, the water was cold, and my hands and feet were shriveled up like prunes. So I get out of the tub, and I go to look down to see how my legs look. And I have to be really careful that I don't bump my head against the sink, because that's how close we were. And when I look down, there's nicks all over my legs. There's a few cuts and a couple of trails of blood going down. But a lot of really smooth skin. And I was pretty happy with that. So I reached down to touch my newly smooth legs, and a feeling of warmth kind of overcame me. It was sensual, and it was just about arousing, and it was totally, totally wrong. And I stopped myself. I pushed that feeling as far back in my head as I could possibly push it. And I reminded myself, you just did that to be a speedy, serious cyclist, nothing else. As the spring turned into summer, that's what I became. I trained, I rode all the time, I hung out with my teammates, I entered races, and I got in phenomenal shape. And it occurred to me that I could ride my bike from Northwest Portland to my job in Hillsborough and get 40 miles in each day of training when I did that. So I checked with my boss. I didn't want to leave my expensive racing bike locked up in front of the courthouse. And I asked him if I could bring it into the office. And he said, sure. And then he also told me that the sheriff's department had a locker room and showers in the basement of the courthouse. And if I wanted to, I could use them. That afternoon, I go down to the basement and I check out the shower. It's mid-size. It's got 3 wooden benches, a bank of lockers, and a shower room that smells of a combination of mold and Clorox. But I figured it'll do. So I go back up to work and decide tomorrow I'm going to do it. So the next day I get up a little bit earlier, and a little bit before 7 o'clock in the morning, I get dressed in my bike clothes, I get my bike, and I head off to ride to Hillsborough. My intent and my plan is to get there by 8 o'clock, which will give me time to shower, dress, and make it to the start of our workday, which was 8:30, without any problem. I have a great ride. It's really wonderful. I go up over the West Hills. I feel invigorated. I feel tough. And I ride to Hillsborough. When I arrive there, I'm just completely covered with sweat from the ride. Smiling away, I walk into the courthouse. I take my bike up the elevator, put it in my office, grab my suit, and head down to the locker room. I took the elevator down to the first floor, and from there you have to go down the stairs to the basement. So I walk down the stairs, I open the door, and I am completely blindsided. It's like someone slugged me in the stomach and knocked the wind out of me. The entire locker room is filled with naked cops. I have never seen so many naked cops. Actually, I had never seen one naked cop. But this was a lot of naked cops. And what I hadn't considered was that 8 o'clock was shift change for the sheriff's department. So there were cops coming in off the night shift, and they were changing out of their uniforms, showering, getting dressed in street clothes, and heading out. There was an equal number of cops coming in for the day shift, changing out of their street clothes into their uniforms, and there was me. In a body-hugging bicycling spandex bike shorts, and freshly shaven legs. My first thought was just to turn around and run back up the stairs to my office, but I was really drenched. I needed to take a shower before work. So I walked over to one of the benches, and I sat there with like my hands on my knees and my face kind of like in a crying, sobbing position, looking down at the floor, just totally scared to make eye contact with anyone in the room. I waited my turn until I could get into the shower, stripped off my bike clothes and made a beeline for the shower. But I gotta tell you about the shower. It's a big open room with a cylinder that goes up the middle. And there's 6 shower heads around the top of the cylinder. and there's no dividers, and the 5 other spaces are taken up by big, naked, hairy cops with their dicks hanging out. And I walk in like this, making myself as small as I can possibly be, and I'm just terrified that I'm gonna bump into one of them. When I hit the shower, I flash back to my high school days and my experience in locker rooms. And I hear the bullies in the locker room calling me fag and queer and pussy and bumping into me and going, "Oh, sorry," and pushing my clothes off the benches down onto the floor where they've all trapped water coming out of the shower and taking their towels and snapping them at my ass. And I know that what was happening was not happening between me and the cops. It was happening in my head. But at that moment, it felt absolutely 100% real. I relived it. Then I snapped out of it, and I realized where I was, and the cops weren't doing anything out of the ordinary, other than being naked. I made a beeline out of the shower, got dressed as quickly as I could, went up to my office to work. I stayed at the district attorney's office for 3 more years before I left to go open up a law office of my own. During those 3 years, I continued to shave my legs. I continued to ride my bike to work. And I continued to shower in the sheriff's department locker room. I just made sure I got there before shift change. Time passes. During that time, I was going to say, when I worked for myself, bike racing was out, because it turned out that the commitment to having your own law office is much greater than working for the government. So I stopped racing, and I stopped shaving my legs because I no longer had a justification for doing it. That feeling that I had experienced in the little bathroom in my Northwest Portland apartment resurfaced at times, and each time it did over the years, I pushed it as deep and as far away as I possibly could. There were other feelings that were related to that I encountered, and I pushed them also as far away as I could. I didn't know what the feelings were, and I didn't want to find out. This went on for decades, until finally, the pressure of keeping all of those feelings, secrets, contained within inside of me became too much to bear, and the dam broke. I admitted to myself, and then I told my friends and my family that I had realized that I was transgender. I expected to feel shame and be rejected. But instead, I actually found joy, acceptance, and support. I shave my legs now. I don't have to have a reason or explain it to anybody. I don't worry too much about being masculine and tough anymore. And although I haven't gone back to racing my bicycle, I have continued to ride very seriously over the years, as much as 100 miles a week on a pretty regular basis. I've also joined a new team. This team is called Sorella Forte. which translated from the Italian means strong sister. Thank you.